liked it. There was a lot of great pop culture references, comic book references, comic book movie references. If you're in on the joke, you'll pick up quite a bit of that. I thought Deadpool 1 kind of slowed down after the initial action sequence, because I did fall asleep in Deadpool 1. But you had that incredible over-the-top scene at the beginning on the highway with all the blood and gore and violence, and then you had the final scene where they had, which was done on the remains of a SHIELD helicarrier. So you kind of had these really big bookend epic scenes. This one, they had some incredible fight scenes. They had a lot of violence and gore at the beginning because that's what Deadpool does. But it wasn't as epic. And it's kind of interesting because the budget was like 10 times what the budget was for the first one. So, but overall, it was a really fun movie. There were a lot of good in-jokes. I did laugh a few times. I thought it, for the most part, the story moved fairly quickly. There's probably this middle part that starts about 15 minutes in that kind of drags for a little bit because Deadpool's kind of down in the dumps and mopey. Some of it's amusing, some of it just kind of drags. But then it picks up again, and it's hilarious. And because he forms X-Force in this movie.
Yeah, I remember they showed that off in the trailers that he was forming that together.
Yeah. You'll have to see the movie to see how that pans out. There's, I would say, a lot more Colossus in this movie. Super Negasonic, whatever is in there more. They introduce a few other characters. I'm trying to do this without spoiling it. Cable is obviously in there, and yes, at one point he goes, "Easy there, Thanos." So that was, I appreciated that, because Josh Brolin plays both Cable and Thanos. So they did a good job with it, and it was a fun movie. There is a middle credits scene. There's a good song at the end, but there's no end credits scene. And the middle credits scene kind of makes you wonder if how do I say this without spoiling anything? Leaves the next movie in question as to who could be in it. That's how I'm gonna put it. And the opening credits are once again hilarious.
Yeah, I'm sure they get to have some more fun with that concept.
And apparently, and I can't remember which joke it was, but there was something near the beginning that I guess I actually laughed out loud, and my wife didn't get the reference, and she meant to ask me afterwards, but she couldn't give me enough details for me to remember what the hell I was laughing at. And apparently, my mom was making some interesting sounds and might have winced and squirmed a little bit. Fortunately, there was no sex scenes in this one. I was a little worried. It's like, this could be a little uncomfortable. And all of a sudden he mentions the strap-on. It's like, oh no, don't break out the strap-on. And fortunately, he just referenced it. He did not break it out, so I did not have to watch that with my mommy. But yes, fun movie. Not as good as Infinity War. Not the same style of movie. This one's more for laughs and for fun.
Yep, I would expect nothing less of a Deadpool movie.
So, but yes, I do recommend it.
Yeah, I was planning on seeing it. I just haven't had a good time to go into it.
So, and here, this is gonna blow your mind, Ryan.
Okay.
Didn't fall asleep.
Wow. Is it? See, you say it's not as good as the Infinity War movie, but you fell asleep during that one. So I mean,
Twice.
Yeah, twice.
I did get up in the middle of the movie to pee and to refill my soda. I don't know if that helped, but whatever.
Clearly, you just need to get into the mood to go pee or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But so yeah, highly recommend. If you get a chance, go see Deadpool. It was a lot of fun. What else did I do? Anything else this weekend? I played some games Sunday. I was supposed to go to a party with my wife's family, but my throat was all fucked up, and I said, if I have strep throat, probably not a good thing to go to a party with a lot of geriatrics. So I decided to stay home. And I got to play games.
Yeah, that's really good.
So, but yeah, that's about all I've been up to.
Alright.
So, I guess we should get into whether or not there's any new games coming out.
Yeah. I did find one thing. There was a Street Fighter the 30th Anniversary Collection is coming to the PS4, Switch, Xbox One, and PC next week. And
Pass.
yeah. Actually, I haven't heard anyone mention that thing before, so I just thought it was, it's a well-known series, so I figured might as well put it up on the board. And I think
Slim pickings, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there was something I should reiterate just because it was coming out again on this Friday, but I could be. Oh yeah, this Friday there's the Detroit Become Human coming out on the PS4.
Yep. You getting it?
I'm not sure. I probably at the very least rent it, but I'm not sure if I'm going for the full purchase amount though. I guess I'm just kind of they always end up being interesting games, but I'm always skeptical of how good they're going to be. I think that's kind of the main reason why I check it out is because I do know it's going to be at the very least interesting. So yeah, I guess it very well see at least a rental.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested. Is it going to be an action game or is it going to be a glorified Telltale game?
Right. I mean, they've kind of gotten. I feel like they've kind of had a decent bit of action to them. At least the previous titles have, so I could see this one being that as well. I mean, granted, their kind of action has a little more towards QTE-esque stuff, but
yeah, exactly. I don't know. Something to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, right now, if I was going to buy a game, I think I would still go with getting Hyrule Warriors right now for the Switch.
That's understandable. Actually, for real, I thought you already picked that up or at some point, but you seem pretty sure on it.
Yeah, I am pretty sure on it. It's just sitting down at the Switch and buying it, and it's like, okay, also finding time to play it. I mean, I just got Tropical Freeze on the Switch. I have a couple games on the Xbox One X that that are still in shrink wrap technically. One's digital, one is in shrink wrap. And then there's a game that I played this week that it's like, I may want to play a little more of this. So I don't know. It's once again, it's not the money thing as much as it's the time thing, and squeezing time in for everything is like, I don't know. So, but I'll probably sometime this week, and I'll sit down and just say fuck it and get one of them. I might actually have the credits on the Switch to pay for. I certainly have enough to subsidize it, if not pay it. And last weekend I made sure to renew my PlayStation Plus before it expired in a couple of weeks, so that's taken care of. But there's another $60 gone.
Yeah.
So, all right. Do we have any news?
Yeah, we got a couple things. One, I think Best Buy is ending their Gamers Club Unlocked service, which I know is something Fred was using a lot, and I know a lot of people were using because it's considered a pretty good service, especially because it could even be used on like things like a lot of people were using it for like the 20% off when you buy the games, and the fact that it could be used on like collector's editions too was pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's concerning a lot of people because a lot of reasons they don't even bother to go to Best Buy. For some people, a lot of their buy games is through that offer.
They are slowly alienating everybody. I think their plan is, if they alienate everybody by removing, because they're getting rid of CDs in a month. They get rid of the gaming club. So they keep doing this. There will be less and less reason to go there, if there's even a reason to go there now. So that when they do announce that they are finally closing the stores at the end of the summer, nobody will care.
Like, why would I go there anyways?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why they're trying to make so much room anyways. They're just trying to sell more like refrigerators and like washing machines or whatever they sell there now.
Yeah, we were actually talking about, Sean Freeman would like to go there with the family and, sort of like on a field trip or something. Hey, it's a Sunday afternoon, let's go fuck around at Best Buy. And it's like, I can't even think of what are you looking at? Refrigerators and microwaves? I mean, the gaming section is almost gutted. The Blu-ray DVD section is down to bare bones. The CDs are gone or virtually gone. What's left?
I mean, that's the big question. I don't think there is anything left. Honestly, that's.
I told him, he says, have you guys, he brought up, hey, have you guys been to Best Buy? I said, yeah, it's one step above Five Below at this point.
Yeah, I guess it's worth noting that I guess it keeps whatever subscription. If you had a subscription like way beyond, it would still count. Like I guess anyone that has a current one would still keep it, but if you can't renew it though, so you would have had to have renewed at some point before.
This is just another nail in the coffin. I mean, by the end of the year, if they make holiday season this year, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, I think the thing that a lot of people are debating about is whether Amazon will get rid of their 20% off thing, just because the reason they even started doing it was because Best Buy had this Gamers Club Unlock thing. So people are somewhat debating, predicting that Amazon might drop that soon now too, because they don't have the competition to worry about.
Exactly. I mean, they have pretty much driven the brick and mortar stores out of business.
Yeah.
I mean, the only ones left are Walmart and Target. When you think about it.
Yeah, which is kind of a weird competition. It's like they're not even in the market. They're just the general stores. They're not, which is probably the main reason why they can stay around, because they are trying to sell more of them. Not trying to sell various things. They can't be grocery stores and whatnot at the same time.
True. You wouldn't want to go to Best Buy to buy your steaks.
Yeah.
Well, apparently people buy them in Walmart. God help us all, but the mutant three-legged cows or whatever. I mean, this is the writing's on the wall. They're done.
Yeah, I mean, Toys R Us one way and they'll be the next, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, what else you got?
We got Sony is shutting down physical Vita production outside of Japan, which I guess I would consider sort of the sign that or I guess the more official sign that Vita is going away more, in a sense. Just, I mean, it was kind of, they're kind of going away, but I think it was more of like an official way of saying, like, yeah, it's not going to be a thing for much longer. Apparently, though, with this news, I know it's kind of a thing, like, mobile stuff still be the same. Apparently, Nintendo is still supporting the 3DS to actually still make games for it. So, surprisingly, even with the Switch being there. But I guess the main reason for Nintendo doing it is because they actually do have a huge install base to work with. They have all these people that already own a 3DS, so it's very easy to be like, well, we already have our base of people that already own one, so it's very easy to make a game for that still, because all the people that have that. But yeah, basically, yeah, so but getting back to the main story though, is Sony is, since they aren't getting that many titles anyways, it's physical production is now not a thing anymore. Apparently will still be in Japan because, it's a different market there.
Yeah, Fred mentioned this on last week's show.
Oh, it was on last week?
Yep,
oh.
He did. He mentioned it somewhere when we were talking, I think when we started kind of doing a little discussion of E3 and the leaks and all that. But yes, he did mention that. The Vita was going digital only.
Oh, okay.
So
I guess I missed that detail. But
nobody listens to Fred. Don't worry about it. He's used to it. So, and I didn't, since I worked from home yesterday, I never got to listen to all of this week's show yet. I know Fred likes the Vita. I'm kind of over handheld game systems. I have a phone that does a decent job. I have a tablet, and I have a Switch.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think the Vita and the 3DS are both kind of useless products at this point.
I think they always had more value to me when I had like a scenario where where they could be their best value, like where I was like, okay, I've got a sizable chunk of time before I may get to the next class, or there's like I'm the one not driving, or I'm on a commute. Like, just when those scenarios were involved, like, got a lot of use. But at this point in my life, it's really hard to make use out of it. I mean, there's really no like in between point. If there is such an in between point, it's usually small enough that's like the phone's just better because of the small period of time it is. So it's just like, yeah, it's just hard. I do think they could still be great, but it really has to be for the right scenario type of thing.
I agree. I mean, and I just don't have that that time in my life, I guess, anymore. I mean, I guess if I was going away, like, I don't know, to my parents' beach house or up to the ski condo, maybe, then I would have more of a use for it when I'm up there and at night, but I don't go there. So, and I have my phone and I have my tablet, and as long as I have a Wi-Fi, I already have some games that probably could tie up most of the night. So, and I would just bring the Switch. I've used the Switch from time to time. mobilely.
Yeah.
Probably not as much as I thought I might, but I like it on the big screen.
I in a weird way, the way I'm using mobilely is more than such that, I think I mentioned before in the past that I kind of use it before I go to bed kind of thing. So it's weird in a mobile sense that it's just not really going anywhere. It's just laying in bed kind of thing. But still works good for that though.
Yeah. So, all right. Any other news?
I thought this was noteworthy just because I haven't heard about it in a while. Is that I guess No Man's Sky has actually been getting a lot of updates since its initial
disaster.
Yeah, it's plummet into the market, but I guess they have been doing pretty big updates throughout and they are actually finally adding multiplayer. The thing that they sort of suggested there could have been a thing when it initially released, but was never a thing. But they're actually adding that multiplayer update in July, so that you could actually see another person online.
Have you been back to that game at all?
No, I mean, when I initially played it, I just rented it because I think I was skeptical even then when it was releasing. I was like, I don't know about, because I had seen some stuff, beforehand. I'm like, I was skeptical, so I'd only rented it, so I haven't actually checked it out since then. But I'll admit though, with all the updates I've been doing, it has made me curious just to see how much that game has changed at this point. And I do have to wonder though, they've been doing all these updates. I'm curious if it's been worth it for them to do all those updates. Have people, I'm curious if people have returned to it. Have they been happy with what it's with the changes?
Yeah, I mean, is it too little, too late?
Yeah. I mean, obviously they could have kept the game in the oven, all this time to actually get to this point with all these updates. But I am kind of curious if all this make good is worth it for them in the end, and if there are actually people that are glad to have kept coming back to it kind of thing.
Well, I mean, Hello Games was a friend of the show. We were you and I and Chris, got to see the first Joe Danger, and I remember I was blown away by Joe Danger. I called it the game of the show just because it was creative and interesting. I mean, and retro all at the same time. And they did, the sequel was probably too much in terms of it was they basically threw everything they could into that game, and some of it worked and some of it didn't, and I don't think it did that well commercially, but it was a fun game. And then they came out with this thing, but I think it's a situation where they kind of overpromised, or they were very vague and cagey about it, and people assumed a lot with this game, I think is the best way to put it. And when it didn't turn out to be what everybody assumed that it was going to be, the internet turned on them. So, I mean, I enjoyed the game. I just, there wasn't much to do in it. There was, in the term, if you really wanted just to explore planets and take pictures and maybe shoot an occasional thingamabob and find some interesting stuff. But I mean, part of the thing I was pissed off at was, even if you found a planet, it only recognized that you found that planet for 2 to 3 weeks or something like that. I remember there was something about, that things reset after 2 weeks. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah, and granted, that might be one of the things they fixed in the update, because I know they started adding stuff like being able to build base building and having beacons to teleport around and stuff. So I think some of that had to have changed since then, but I don't know what degree. But yeah, the initial setup though was kind of felt like a weak premise. Even though it was a very relaxing game, and to a certain degree, it wasn't. Didn't feel like I kind of felt like there just wasn't enough to it. at the time.
Yeah, I'm reading Kaijudo's thoughts here in the chat, and he thought the alpha was a fun, chill game, and he still plays it with the new updates. And that you see the same weird animals on the same planets when you're not supposed to. So, but maybe it's worth going back and taking a look at it over the summer. There's not that much coming out this summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically been, ever since God of War released, I don't think there's anything else that's big to come out for some time until we get into the fall season, but probably, I think.
I guess it depends on whether or not you think Detroit is a big deal or not.
Yeah, it's the only thing that I think. Yeah, I guess it would be Detroit. But beyond that, so there would be that. But beyond that, I don't think there's anything else.
Probably not.
Obviously, we've got E3 coming soon to get us excited about all the future stuff coming out.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully, there's a few more things announced for the fall, because right now, and I say this every year, the fall isn't shaping up to be all that great.
Yeah, I get the feeling that last year was a much stronger year, but this might end just being a down year compared to because of that, and might end up being more stuff next year because of that.
Hopefully.
That's the vibe I'm getting, anyways.
All right. Any other news?
Nothing I could really find that was worth noting.
I will be back. I'm going to let you go first, and I'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right. I'll be back.
So, let's see. I haven't been playing too much this week. I intended to play more, but yeah, like I mentioned earlier at the beginning, that I just got sick of it. There were some VR games I wanted to check out, like I picked up Megaton Rainfall and Accounting Plus, and I meant to play those, but never got a chance to. Still been kind of playing some Hearthstone. They actually did a patch today because of all the meta stuff that had been happening recently with. Basically that a lot of the paladin, a lot of card decks and whatnot that had been strong before the last expansion were still strong was kind of a concern, and so they kind of just nerfed to the Q block that I mentioned in the past and the paladin stuff. So they did some nerfs there. They also did like a nerf to Quest Rogue, which is kind of funny because it's actually a one they'd actually nerfed before. Initially, the previous nerf they did before was to change it to. Initially, the whole quest is based around the idea that you have to summon the same minion or play the same minion 5 times, and then would unlock the quest to make all your minions from then on 5/5s. So they later upgrade. Yeah, originally it had to be 4. They did a patch to nerf it to be 5, which seemed to be enough for a while, but as of I'd say with the last expansion, with certain cards rotating out and new stuff coming in, with some of the new cards they added in, it made it a lot easier for Quest Rogue to sort of just get that 5 anyways and not have that hard of a time with it. So then I guess they recently did a nerf on that as well today, which was to make all the minions who you'd summon instead of being 5/5s be 4/4s. So they another nerf on there. I'm curious like how much that will be, if that is actually a big enough change. I mean, obviously that's a big stat point difference, but I don't know.
Are we talking whatchamacallit?
I was talking about Hearthstone first, just because I
figured.
Just because there was actually a balance update today regarding some of the cards, because they were trying to balance some stuff. Because there was, I think I mentioned in the past when the initial expansion released, the Witchwood expansion, that there were some there's some decks that were problematic before the expansion, and they were still problematic after the expansion. So they just had to finally do some updates because the rotating of cards and the new cards weren't enough to really change that those decks enough, or change how much of a threat they were. So they basically made a bunch of balance updates to a lot of it was just mainly mana cost changes, and sort of on that end. Then it also finally took care of a card in because they've had like the whole idea of standard where like they'd have the more current cards, and then wild where all the just like any card could be there. They recently finally took care of a card called Legacy, which it actually been notorious a while because one of the reasons is because they changed the wording on it when it came into Wild or how it worked. And basically the whole thing was that there was like a giant stick that was going around because what it would do is make a whole bunch of giant cards, like all the giant cards that basically around the idea of these being these big minions that usually have some way to lower their cost so they can be played out on the board. Nanagasi, which basically had a way of sort of circumventing that mechanic because it would change the cost of all cards to like 5, but with the way these giants worked, it allowed you to basically just vomit out giants on turn 5, which was very early in the game, and classes just didn't really have a way to deal with it that early. So they finally made a change to that card. But I think it was rather unique because the change to the card didn't actually happen until it went into Wild, so it was actually a different card in terms of like how it functioned with that mechanic and how it worked with the giants until it was actually put out as standard, which I think was part of people's problem with it. Because generally they try to keep like cards how they were in standard coming into Wild and try to mess with them after that, because Wild's just supposed to be that. It's supposed to be just mess with all the crazy kind of decks you want to because all the cards are there kind of thing. I mean, that's the whole concept of their Hall of Fame thing, because like there are certain cards that are sort of a classic cards. They're always through in every standard scenario, but sometimes they'll put them into their quote-unquote Hall of Fame and move them into Wild to sort of just keep them there, and so people can just mess around with all their crazy decks. But for some reason this was like a specific case where they'd actually changed this card when it went into Wild and had been causing problems since then. Because like the big thing about it was because I think another reason people had a problem with it is because it was very kind of luck based, and it was like either they get that card and they put down all their giants, or they don't get it and you win. But it's kind of it was very much it wasn't a fun deck to go against because you were it wasn't very much skill based. It was just like either they get it or they don't, and you either won it or lost based on that. It wasn't like a very good winning deck, but it was just because it was like, even if with a low
OP, and if you pulled it, all of a sudden game over.
Yeah, like even if it had a low win rate, it was still annoying to go against because like you had to have that specific scenario for it to work. But it's not fun to go against because the game's already decided at that point, even if it is a low win rate, which doesn't make it for a very exciting match. But yeah, they finally fix that. What was it? Yeah, I meant to play some other stuff. Like I was mentioning before you got here, I meant to play some other stuff, but I just didn't get a chance to with the sickness coming in. I meant to play some VR games, but it's not exactly a thing you want to play with. VR is not exactly a thing you want to do with a sniffly nose.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So the main thing I kind of got around to playing, and it's kind of something I'd been playing last week too, was God of War. Got further in that. I'll admit, even though I got in this a while back, I wasn't playing as much as I thought I would be, but I'm definitely now hitting this point where I'm actually much more interested in playing through the rest of it. Like, just some of the narrative points are hitting a lot more strongly. Just in terms of like what's going on with the character and what's happening around him. And I don't want to say too much without being spoilery, but I guess I could say it this way: I'm at a point where I dropped a big hammer and I got a new weapon. So that's where I kind of left off. And I think that's good enough without revealing anything. But anyone that's played will probably have an idea.
Okay.
But I do still really like a lot of the systems in play, though, with the whole idea of being able to switch out these different gems or whatever, like runes into the weapons and be able to have different special power-ups. Also, they have the whole idea that the boy actually eventually gets different types of arrows they can shoot too, like ones that are based around more like shocking or stunning, like got different elemental effects. And also just like that also leads in other ways of opening up different areas and opening up different treasure chests. Like it's almost got a bit of like a Metroid-ish thing where you going back to old areas to unlock chests that you couldn't access before because you just didn't have the right pieces to unlock everything. And actually, in a weird way, yeah, it kind of reminds me of Darksiders again, because that game had the idea too of going back to old areas to unlock things that you just didn't have the right tools for before. And I'm just liking the dynamic with Kratos and his son more as they get along as well. It's just gotten more interesting, and I like that dynamic there. And they do add another character along with you, which I'm again not going to reveal because that would be spoilerish, but it's also a nice addition to it as well, to the sort of cast of characters they have. Like they've done a really good job of, for as much as I think that's done on purpose, but like they do a good job of adding a bunch of characters around Kratos to make things lively, if Kratos himself cannot be the lively character. They do like his sort of I don't know, like to a certain degree, even though he doesn't talk much, I do like Kratos' sort of short talking sometimes. Like he's, you know, I think even people have parodied this at some point, that he does like sort of like a we're going to go kill deer. He's like, where? He's like, in the direction of deer. You know, it's like very much, or whatever. It's got a very like direct manner speaking, and it's been enjoyable as it's gone along. But and yeah, they've got it's funny too. It's like as more as they've gotten into the Norse mythology, it actually just kind of makes me want to go back and read up on it some more, just because, you know, like occasionally you just get stuff through, like actually a lot of games do use the Norse mythology, like to a certain different degrees. What was it? Actually, Warcraft has actually used a lot of, like, a lot of their stuff is based around Norse mythology. With the idea of they actually had the idea of world trees, and actually I was about to, well, their gods are more based around, I think, more Greek pantheon, but it's kind of a mix of Greek and Norse. But they actually do have, oh no, actually it's more of Norse, because like they even have like straight characters there, like slight letter change, but basically the same thing in that game. And there's other games I've played too that have had Norse stuff in it. It's a popular mythology that people like to use.
They have great gods or heroes or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, and it's got, you know, obviously it's used a lot for fantasy writing too, because, you know, it's where all the Lord of the Rings stuff was based from, and for like the concept of elves and dwarves and orcs and all that. So yeah, it's got a long history of a lot of different fiction using it, and I really do like their interpretation of it in this one too, like just the way they kind of like envision what some of this stuff would be like. Yeah, it is interesting because as I get further in, they do seem to hint, even though I think it still sticks mainly to its own story, I do think there is a bit more hinting at like his past a bit more as you get along too. But I'd say nothing crazy that makes you feel like you have to have played the previous one still, though. And yeah, honestly, yeah, just I think it's a combination. Like, I'm definitely more interested in playing it more though now, just because the combination of where the narrative threads are going, but also just the gameplay combat is feeling a bit stronger. Like when you get more abilities to use and can mess around with more stuff in terms of like what you're doing, I think that as the combat gets to shine a bit more, I think it pulls itself better on the gameplay too. So yeah,
I've never played a God of War game, so I'm kind of, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just a franchise I just never got around to.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I know Fred was thinking that it was similar to the past ones, but I kind of feel like it's rather different. But I think some of that comes from like just a lot of the gameplay choices. Like, it's weird because like I don't know. I feel like it's weird because like people call it a linear game, but I still feel like it's a much more open linear thing. Like, there's a lot of points where even like the kid is like saying like, oh hey, we could do this, or we could just go around and exploring, and it's like, you know, it's not exactly the thing you say. It's not what I think of when I think of linear. I don't think of like, oh, we're gonna go and explore for a bit and just go check stuff out and do side quests, you know. It's very much more open on what you want to do, kind of thing at certain points. Although at certain points, it kind of goes back and forth. Like some points, there are points where they just want to hammer through like the idea of like they'll put through certain story points, and you very specifically want to get through the story point before you go back to the open world Esgee area again. But yeah, I still am really. Actually, let's say I was liking the game before. I'm actually enjoying it a lot more, even as I get further in. And it's becoming a more stronger game that I actually want to go back and play some more and actually get some time in this week, I think.
Well, it's a 3-day weekend, hopefully for you.
Not for me, but actually, I mean, I do have some. It's not really, but I'll still have some time to play it though. So yeah, but yeah, that's all I've really been playing. Is like I had time to put into God of War, and that's about where I put all my time this week.
Okay. Where do I? Yeah, I mean, I could talk about Strike Force and drag the show on for an extra 10 minutes or so, but we've kind of discussed the game. I'm still playing it pretty much I am playing it on a daily basis. Still haven't really hit a paywall. That's a nice thing. I have not felt the need to spend money on the game in order to continue to progress. Now, I might spend money on the game to get a cool character or something like that, but you know, if I didn't want to have to grind for them. But overall, I mean, there has really been no reason to spend money on the game. Although, while you were talking, they just sent an offer for that would for $20 I get the Black Panther and a lot of widgets for powering up and leveling him. That might actually be a decent deal. So playing a lot of that, still playing Puzzle Quest as much as quite a bit. It has tapered off a bit. Strike Force has actually pulled me away from Puzzle Quest to an extent, if you can believe that. And like I said earlier, over the weekend, since I was kind of home and self-quarantined, I ended up trying a game that I picked up a couple of weeks ago that we discussed,